Here's my video on how Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker could have been better. I've said I don't hate Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and I'm doing these videos for fun, and I mean nothing by it when I say I'm fixing those movies. That is not true when it comes to this movie. I hated this movie when I first saw it, and watching it in preparation for this video, I hated it even more. It's a bad conclusion to an already uneven trilogy, and it's a bad movie on its own. This movie's failings made me disdain the other two movies even more. Like the woman who entered a contest to win a free Toyota, she won and found out it was for a toy Yoda. It's hard to go back to the excitement I had at the beginning when I know how it's going to turn out. If I had to pinpoint the three biggest problems with this film, it's that it makes petty, pointless changes to the mythos, it feels too unconnected to the other installments in this trilogy, and we spend most of the movie on an unnecessarily complicated scavenger hunt. J.J. Abrams changed the lore because I assume he hated what Rian Johnson did. Go check out my video, The Themes of Rey Palpatine. If Abrams didn't want Rey to be a nobody, he shouldn't have left this trilogy after the first movie. You're bound to get weird inconsistencies between movies when you get a different director and screenwriter for each film. The first movie sets up Lord Snoke as the big villain. Then Rian Johnson had Kylo Ren kill Lord Snoke. It seems to me Rian Johnson was setting up Kylo Ren to be the actual final villain of the end of the trilogy. I assume J.J. Abrams hated that idea and wanted to do a redemption arc for Kylo Ren, which is much harder to do if he's the actual villain of the movie. So he introduces a new villain, new to this trilogy anyway, while he haphazardly shoves Kylo Ren into his redemption arc. Abrams could have worked with what Johnson did and made something different than what we got. Might not have fit with his vision, but he shouldn't have left the trilogy if he was afraid someone else was going to bring their own ideas into this world. You might say Rian Johnson didn't work with what J.J. Abrams set up in The Force Awakens, so there's no reason Abrams should return to favor. You're right, nobody is beholden to anyone's ideas when working on a tentpole intellectual property, though that line of thinking does lead to wildly inconsistent narratives like what this trilogy gave us. All I can say is, I feel like concerning the revelation of Rey's parents, Rian Johnson's ideas worked pretty well with what we saw in The Force Awakens. It's not blatantly spitting in the face of what came before, even if that's not what other people wanted. But J.J. Abrams saying, no, Kylo Ren cannot be the big villain, we have to give him a hero's death, that is blatantly spitting in the face of what came before. If you didn't like what came after you left, then you should never have left. Maybe there's someone who liked the return of Palpatine, though I can't see how. We hardly had any scenes with him, so the people who like Palpatine, I don't think they would have been pleased. And bringing Palpatine back undoes the sacrifice Anakin Skywalker made, after we were told he would bring balance to the Force. It's fine if a new villain who wasn't around in Vader's lifetime comes back in a few decades to do some evil. That's not on him. But the guy Vader was prophesied to kill is still around. That is tantamount to taking a juicy dump on the first 6 movies. Did this movie really need to be the X-Men Origins Wolverine of Star Wars? Rey needs to get to Palpatine's secret planet, but first she needs a, I poo you not, wayfinder, like it finds the way. I think a child could have come up with a better name than that. To get to the wayfinder, she has to get the dagger, then she loses it, so they have to get the information out of C-3PO, so they talk to Poe's ex-girlfriend. She talks to her work friend, they get the dagger back, and it's a good thing they do because whoever made this dagger into a map just watched the Goonies. Then Rey gets the wayfinder, she loses that one, she gets another one, then it's finally the climax of the movie. Even a quest movie like National Treasure I don't think has this many twists and turns on the road to the destination. But we won't have to worry about most of that because this video is a sequel to my fixed videos on The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, so the pieces are on different spots of the board than they were in the movie we got. Quick recap, instead of killing off Luke Skywalker, I killed off Princess Leia, as that would work better setting up Kylo Ren's redemption over the entire trilogy instead of doing it in the last half of the third movie. I didn't want to see Kylo Ren redeemed, but if you are going to do it, it needs to be better. If Kylo had accidentally killed his dad and felt bad about it for a movie and wasn't fast enough to save his mom, that 1-2 punch would set him up to be ready to work with the heroes. Instead of Emperor Palpatine pulling the strings, I'm using Maz Kanata, borrowing an idea from an old blog post that came out after The Force Awakens. With the death of Leia, Poe is now tentatively running the New Republic, and Luke Skywalker is still alive with a new class of students since his return to action. We open with a hazy look at a bloody battle battlefield. We see the dead bodies of our heroes litter the ground, and Luke Skywalker stands alone against his enemy. Luke wakes up, tears in his eyes. This is not a new dream. Much like in key moments in the previous trilogies, our hero is seeing a possible future that will inform his actions. Luke has run through different scenarios in his mind, trying to use the Force to see if this new tactic will work, sort of like Doctor Strange, but he keeps coming up with similar results. The high-ranking officers of the New Republic are pleasantly surprised at how Poe has taken to filling Leia's shoes. He never thought he would be running the New Republic, and he certainly never thought he would be good at it. We cut to the big space battle against the First Order, rebels trying to tear down the government Princess Leia built in the last 30 years. While it's not happy fun times with our new Jedi Order, Bail Solo works surprisingly well with Luke's new students. Although most people don't trust him, he's more battle experienced than any of Luke's newer students, so he's the kind of guy you want leading the dangerous missions, much as everyone hates to admit it. You'll probably notice I haven't given anything to the droids or Chewbacca in these videos. That's because it's hard to give character stuff to a character who doesn't have much of a character. The whole point of Chewie is to show this is a weird world. Not everyone is a human being. He's Han's buddy, but that's about it. But I should have a confrontation between Chewie and Kylo Ren. After Force Awakens came out, I saw this fan comic by Tyson Murphy where Chewie remembers basically being Ben's uncle and hesitates when he's about to shoot Kylo Ren after Han dies. Chewie is upset he lost his brother, but also he helped raise this kid, so he's conflicted. While Bail is going out on these missions, Chewie insists on going with him, mostly to watch him and make sure he doesn't endanger everyone else on the mission. Near the end of the movie, Chewie can save Kylo to show that while they're not completely okay, they are a little better than what they were. In this opening action piece, our heroes find information on the location of a large concentration of First Order ships. Up until now, the First Order used guerrilla tactics, so being able to take the fight to them and cut the head off the snake is huge. They also discover Maz Kanata has taken control of a First Order ship and is looking for something. With Maz's back against the wall, she's forced to go all in before Luke and his pupils find her. She's using the First Order to help her find some ancient artifact she intends to use to amplify her abilities and finally rid the galaxy of the duality of Force study, like the Kyber crystal in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. My version of Maz believes she can communicate with the Force, and according to her, the Force is tired of not being balanced. She wants to end that, and with this artifact, she might be able to. Luke would know about this ancient artifact. Why didn't he find it? He thought he would be tempted to use it, and he might go too far with it. Even if he thought about finding it and hiding it so others wouldn't use it, he'd still be tempted to use it himself, and that could be dangerous. Better to leave it where it is and hope nobody else finds it. If it only amplifies a Force user's already existing ability, why is Luke afraid? Luke remembers when he nearly gave in to the dark side. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, even in Star Wars. Our heroes are divided on what needs to be done. While Poe recognizes Maz is a threat, if he sanctions troops to accompany Luke, he would be doing that for revenge, since Maz is responsible for killing his adopted mom. He has to think of the rest of the New Republic, and think of what to do about the rest of the First Order that Maz is not in control of, because they will continue this war while Maz is on her treasure hunt. Luke does not disagree with Poe's reasoning, but Luke says if he has to go alone, he will, because as far as he's concerned, Maz is the bigger threat. Luke hopes this is what it will come down to. If he goes alone, his vision of his allies all dead at his feet does not come to pass. They're at a standoff, so Poe tells Luke it would be great if he didn't go. The whole reason Leia sent him, Kira, and Han to find him was to inspire the New Republic in this war. If Luke goes on his side adventures without government sanction, Han died for nothing. Luke counters that if they focus all their attention on the First Order, Leia will have died for nothing. Luke leaves, taking Bail and Chewbacca with him. Even with how helpful Bail has been lately, the only reason anyone is okay with him sticking around after what he did to General Solo is that Luke or Chewie is here to stop him if he becomes a threat again. Rose will be staying with Poe because she lost a sister to the First Order, and she is very eager to see them dealt with, though she's more sympathetic to Luke's argument than Poe is. Kira will go with Luke and Bail because she feels she needs to atone for not being fast enough to save Leia in the previous movie, so she wants to prove to her master she is ready to become a Jedi in his eyes. So why does he seem so disappointed that she's going with him? While tensions are a little high, Kira and Rose are confident things will cool off and they'll all be laughing this off in a week. Most of Luke's other students will accompany him as well. While Luke and his team go away, Poe and the New Republic army make their attack against the First Order base, and it is a disaster. Technically a win for the good guys, but they lost too many good people in this attack. And of course, if they had their Jedi friends with them, this might have been less messy. This would be where I want Rose to finally throw away her revenge. She's wanted nothing but to see these people pay for her sister's death for years, but now she sees what war is good for, absolutely nothing. And even though she's known that some of the First Order soldiers are brainwashed like Kira was, she's now seeing firsthand that they are suffering in this war just as much as her comrades are. Things don't go great for Luke and his team either, because they have to chop through a big batch much of First Order to get to Maz. Kira's freaking out because many of these soldiers are here against their will, but she also knows that inaction is not going to do her any good either. They get to the old temple where the artifact is, but Maz gets there first. She uses it, destroys the temple, and this is felt by Force users across the galaxy, including Rose. She tells Poe Luke and his team weren't successful either. Luke and his team barely escape. Maz can always track them down later, but she's got a lot of Force people she can destroy in the meantime. Luke and friends know they're no match for Maz with this thing amplifying her power. They hope they can convince Poe to help them stop Maz before she uses this device again. Things are tense, but Poe concedes Maz is now a priority they need to focus on. As they make plans, we get some unexpected visitors, Sith Lords from the Outer Rim. While the movies told us there were only 2 Sith at a time, you also had Dooku, Grievous, Palpatine, and Asajj Ventress all existing at the same time. There might be some novel I haven't read that explains why this isn't a contradiction, but if Dooku is working with Palpatine and Dooku is working with Asajj, I'm calling shenanigans on the rule of 2. While Palpatine kept things pretty close to the vest with his apprentices he worked with, there were others who weren't allied with him and his regime, way out of the way of the Empire and the New Republic. These Sith, they are here to help. They saw what Maz was capable of, and the enemy of our enemy is our friend. This does not sit well with the higher-ups in the New Republic. Luke says, this war is far from over, and we have to make moral compromises if we want to be victorious. Poe publicly agrees with Luke. They lost a lot of their own in the attack on the First Order, and they can't turn away help, regardless of how little they trust them. Privately, Poe is concerned about the direction Luke wants to take this. Luke is not happy about it either, but he doesn't see any other choice. He doesn't sense any betrayal from these guys, and extra muscle might prevent the deaths he's seeing in his sleep. Our heroes figure out Maz is going to Luke's old hideout we used as the climax of The Force Awakens. Our heroes go to meet her there. Poe and the Muggles will focus their attention on the First Order Maz has under her control, while Luke and the Force users will take on Maz directly. Our Sith guys get taken out pretty early. Since Leia's death, Luke and Bail have trained the rest of the Jedi students how to block Maz's control. It's not easy for our heroes. Maz is much more powerful than she was when she had Kylo Ren in her grasp, but they are barely able to block her out. All of them except Luke. Shockingly, Luke allows Maz in his mind. Luke's been agonizing over how to prevent the bloodshed in his visions, and allowing Maz into his mind is the only way that he can see to do that. He's not certain what will happen, but he doesn't see the death that he's been trying to avoid. Maybe he can stall her internally while his students finish the job on the outside. Unfortunately, Luke misjudged Maz. She feeds him half-truths and guides him in the direction she wants him to go. Remember my video Yoda was wrong? Maz points out the flaws in Yoda's teachings Luke tried to emulate when he began the new Jedi Order. He made changes here and there, but he was trying to recreate what came before, and Maz points out he was wrong to do so. As doubt creeps in, Maz tightens her grip. There's Kylo Ren, the embodiment of your failure. Luke would have stood a chance of keeping Maz out of his mind, but letting her in, even to give the others a chance to stop her, that was his undoing. Luke is barely able to tell Bail and Kira they need to do whatever is necessary to defeat Maz. They try to get past him, but he's too skilled, even under Maz's control, to allow them to touch her. It's clear they will have to take the kid gloves off if they want to stop this. After some last-minute pleas from both parties, Kira and Bail kill Luke Skywalker. Somehow, the entire galaxy sees this, like when Wonder Woman broke Maxwell Lord's neck, and Lord had it televised to defeat her, even in death. Maz was not expecting Luke to be killed. She thought Luke would kill his students, and she could show the rest of the galaxy their hero who liberated them from the clutches of the Emperor, and how far he's fallen. But this works for Maz too. Kira and Bail focus their attention toward Maz. Working together, she is defeated. With Maz dead, the First Order troops she had under her control lay down their arms as they're a little unsure what's going on. With Luke dead, nobody is sure what the future of the Jedi Order is. Kira doesn't feel like she's had enough training to become a master, and Bail wouldn't be a good choice even if he is repentant of his past. But both of them are shocked when Poe tells them, with the entire galaxy witnessing them kill a war hero, the other New Republic officers aren't comfortable with the Jedi being aligned with the government anymore. Kira and Bail are banished from the New Republic. Poe understands what happened, but he can't fight the rest of his advisors on this when they are so close to peace. Rose is going back with Poe, giving her lightsaber to Bail and Kira. Although the New Republic has eliminated the bulk of the First Order, there's still some small factions out there that pose a threat if they get their bearings, so she wants to stick around and see this through, but not for revenge. She assures Kira she is going to head up programs to help ease the brainwashed First Order recruits into society. Tearful goodbyes all around. Chewbacca stays with Bail and Kira, not because he's afraid Bail will betray Kira, but because Bail is the only family he has left, and he's finally more or less forgiven him for what happened to Han. As the New Republic pulls out, Kira is even less sure where she should go now. She doesn't have a home, not with the First Order, who she chose to leave, or the New Republic, who cast her out. They hear a suggestion come from behind them. It's Luke's Force Ghost. This old Jedi temple is still in fine shape. This could be the home of the new Jedi Order. Kira argues if they begin training new students without the support of the New Republic, they would be little more than outlaw vigilantes in the eyes of the government. Any combat situations the Jedi would be needed at, it would get messy. Luke points out, not too long ago, Kira was in favor of studying the more spiritual aspects of the Force. Luke tells her while he was frustrated with her, she had a good point. In the closing days of war, the galaxy does not need soldiers punching their enemies for them. They need spiritual leaders to help them look toward the future. Poe never told them they couldn't teach and study, just that they had no place in the government. Bail and Kira are unsure about this, but Luke insists they are perfect for this. They've both seen the dark side and the light. They can bring balance to the Force, which is what is needed. The conversation Luke had with Rey in The Last Jedi about how the Jedi were imperfect, we get something like that here. Luke says, while he disagreed with Maz's methods and her goals, she was not wrong about the Force needing balance. He was wrong to try to mimic Yoda's teachings from a bygone era. But the two of them can learn from his mistakes, learn from the mistakes of the ancient Sith, find that path in the middle and teach it. Bail asks if Luke will stick around to help them, but Luke says they don't need his help. They have each other. And that's it. I'm not sure why I decided to go with a less happy ending. Maybe I'm a miserable person who likes to see others suffer. Nah, I always thought there weren't enough casualties in Return of the Jedi. One big happy campfire, not a single person dies. I tried to make this different from what came before. I think I did pretty well on Kylo Ren's fall and rise, and Kira not wanting to become a war hero. That's something we haven't seen before. I was never sold on the Finn-Rose subplot in Last Jedi, so I gave Rose the role of struggling Jedi apprentice, which I wasn't entirely sure on, but I think I liked where I went there, and her eventually letting go of her anger works, I think. People would not like Luke going out like a punk, which is why I tried to make him opening his mind to Maz be his way of saving everyone else. I still don't hate most of these movies. I didn't want to be disappointed. People who didn't dip their toes in the expanded universe probably spent most of their lives thinking about what Han, Leia, and Luke were up to following Return of the Jedi. No matter what this trilogy did, it was going to disappoint people. That's what Star Wars movies do. They have such a massive following. Every time there's a new story, there is no way it can make everybody happy. While I tossed some ideas around for these videos, I clearly was not busting down the doors of the internet to make this, but I wanted to get my thoughts out there, at the very least, so they can leave my brain forever. Now I can continue Monday morning quarterbacking other stories I think could have been handled better. I hope you guys like this, and if you did, I do this all the time, so come see what else I'll be doing in the future. Until next time, may the Force be with you.